Snow stung Elena Martinez's face as she trudged through Chicago's west side, the wind howling like a ghost that wouldn't let go. She clutched the collar of her denim jacket, the one she'd worn for years, as if it could shield her from more than just the cold. At 38, Elena thought she'd buried her heart 10 years ago, until she saw the girl. Huddled against a dumpster in an alley off Division Street, the teenager shivered in a threadbare sweater, her knees pulled tight to her chest. Her hazel eyes caught the dim streetlight, flickering with a defiance that made Elena stop dead in her tracks. Something about her, maybe the curve of her jaw, maybe the way she tilted her head, felt like a punch to Elena's chest, dragging up memories she'd fought to forget. "Hey!" Elena called softly, her voice nearly lost in the wind. "You okay?" The girl looked up, wary but not hostile. "Fine," she muttered, though her chattering teeth betrayed her. Elena's gaze fell to the girl's hands, red and raw from the cold, clutching a tattered backpack. Without thinking, Elena shrugged off the heavy wool coat she'd been carrying, meant for the shelter's donation bin, and draped it over the girl's shoulders. "You don't have to," the girl started, but Elena waved her off. "Keep it. It's too cold out here." The girl hesitated, then pulled the coat tighter, her fingers brushing the frayed hem. "Thanks," she said, almost too quiet to hear. "I'm Riley." "Elena." She offered a small smile, though her heart was racing. That name, Riley. It wasn't just a name. It was a whisper from a life she'd lost, a life with Sarah, the woman who'd been her everything until a car accident stole her away a decade ago. Elena shook her head, pushing the thought down. Just a coincidence. But as Riley stood, the coat swallowing her slight frame, Elena noticed a faded patch on the backpack. A rainbow flag, stitched crookedly, like a kid's first attempt at sewing. Her breath caught. Sarah had one just like it, back when they were young and fearless, sneaking kisses in dive bars and dreaming of a world that wouldn't judge them. "You from around here?" Elena asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Riley shrugged, brushing snow from her dark blonde hair. "Kinda. Been bouncing around since, well, for a while." Elena nodded, sensing the weight behind those words. She'd seen enough runaways at the shelter where she volunteered. Kids kicked out for who they were, for who they loved. "There's a place a few blocks over. Warm food, a bed. I can walk you there." Riley's eyes narrowed, guarded. "I don't need charity." "It's not charity," Elena said firmly. "It's just a place to crash. No strings." After a long pause, Riley nodded. They walked in silence, the snow crunching under their boots. Elena stole glances at Riley, her mind spinning. The girl couldn't be more than 17, maybe 18. Her sharp cheekbones, the way her lips pressed into a thin line. It was like seeing Sarah again, but younger, rougher around the edges. At the shelter, Elena helped Riley check in, lingering as the staff handed her a hot coffee and a blanket. "You'll be okay here," Elena said, though she wasn't sure if she was reassuring Riley or herself. Riley looked at her, those hazel eyes searching. "Why'd you stop?" "For me, I mean, most people don't." Elena opened her mouth, then closed it. How could she explain the ache in her chest, the way Riley's face felt like a ghost come to life? "I just saw you. That's all." As Elena turned to leave, Riley called after her. "Hey, Elena? Thanks for the coat. It means something." Elena nodded, her throat tight, and stepped back into the snow. She didn't know it yet, but that coat, Sarah's old coat, the one Elena hadn't been able to part with until tonight, was about to unravel everything she thought she knew about love, loss, and family. The shelter was a squat brick building, its windows glowing warmly against the storm. Elena had been volunteering there for years, ever since Sarah's death left a hole too big to fill. It was her way of keeping Sarah's spirit alive. Sarah, who'd spent her life fighting for kids like Riley, kids who'd been cast out for being themselves. Elena worked the intake desk, sorted donations, anything to keep busy, to keep the grief at bay. But tonight, something felt different. She couldn't shake Riley's face, those eyes, that patch. It was absurd, but Elena's mind kept circling back to Sarah. They'd met in college, Two women who'd found each other in a world that wasn't always kind. Sarah was white, with a laugh that could light up a room, and Elena, a second-generation Mexican-American, had fallen hard. They'd built a life together, messy, imperfect, but theirs, until the accident. Elena pushed the memories away as she walked home to her small apartment in Pilsen. The walls were lined with photos, her and Sarah at Pride, Sarah grinning with paint on her face from renovating their old place. Elena hadn't changed a thing since Sarah died. It was easier that way, like keeping her close. But Riley, something about her felt like a thread pulling loose, threatening to unravel the careful stitches of Elena's life. She didn't know why she'd given her Sarah's coat. It had been sitting in her closet for years, a relic she couldn't touch but couldn't throw away. Maybe it was the cold, or Riley's shivering frame, or the way her eyes reminded Elena of someone she'd lost. The next morning, Elena returned to the shelter, telling herself it was just another shift. But when she saw Riley in the common room, still wearing the coat, her heart skipped. Riley was sketching in a worn notebook, her brow furrowed in concentration. Elena approached, trying to sound casual. "You settling in okay?" Riley looked up, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "Yeah, better than the alley." Elena sat across from her, noticing the sketch. A cityscape, rough but vivid. "You're good," she said, nodding at the drawing. Riley shrugged, but her cheeks flushed. "Just something to do." They talked for a while about art, the city, nothing heavy. But Elena couldn't ignore the feeling gnawing at her. The sense that Riley wasn't just another kid passing through. When Riley mentioned she'd grown up in foster care, Elena's stomach twisted. Sarah had been in foster care, too, before she'd aged out. Another coincidence, she told herself. But then Riley pulled a photo from her backpack. A faded Polaroid of a woman with hazel eyes and a crooked smile, holding a baby. Elena's breath stopped. The woman was Sarah. "Who's that?" Elena asked, her voice barely a whisper. Riley's fingers tightened on the photo. "My mom. She's gone now." Elena's world tilted. Sarah had never mentioned a child. They talked about adoption, sure, but it was always a future plan, something for someday. Could Sarah have had a daughter before they met? Someone she'd given up? The math checked out. Riley was the right age. But why wouldn't Sarah have told her? Elena forced herself to stay calm. "What was her name?" "Sarah Harper," Riley said softly. "She died when I was little." Elena's heart pounded so loud she thought Riley might hear it. Sarah Harper. Her Sarah. The woman she'd loved. The woman whose coat now hung on Riley's shoulders. I need some air," Elena stammered, standing abruptly. She stumbled outside, the cold biting her skin as she tried to make sense of it. Sarah had a daughter. Riley was Sarah's daughter. And Elena had found her, by chance, in an alley, wearing her mother's coat. She leaned against the shelter's wall, tears mixing with the snow on her cheeks. All these years, she'd thought she'd lost Sarah forever. But maybe fate or something else had brought them back together through Riley. Inside, Riley was still sketching, unaware of the storm she'd just unleashed in Elena's heart. And as Elena stood there, shivering in the cold, she knew one thing for certain. She couldn't walk away. Not now. Not ever. Elena's apartment felt smaller that night, the walls closing in as she stared at the ceiling, Sarah's name echoing in her mind. The Polaroid Riley had shown her was burned into her memory. Sarah's smile, unmistakable, cradling a baby who could only be Riley. How had she not known? She pulled a box from under her bed, one she hadn't touched in years. Inside were Sarah's things, letters, a scarf, a journal. Elena's hands trembled as she opened the journal, hoping for answers. Sarah's handwriting spilled across the pages, vivid and messy, like her. Most entries were from their college days, full of dreams and love notes to Elena. But one, dated a year before they met, stopped her cold. "I gave her up today, my girl. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. But she deserves better than me right now." Elena's chest tightened. Sarah had been 20, alone, fresh out of foster care herself. The journal didn't name the baby, but the timeline fit. Riley would have been born around then. Elena closed the journal, tears blurring her vision. Sarah had carried this secret, and Elena, her partner for years, had never suspected. The next day, Elena returned to the shelter, her mind a tangle of questions. Riley was in the common room again, sketching, the coat draped over her chair. Elena sat beside her, trying to act normal. "You sleep okay?" Riley nodded, her pencil scratching the page. "Better than usual. This place isn't so bad." Elena hesitated, then asked, "That photo you showed me, you said she was your mom. Do you know much about her?" Riley's hand stilled. "Not really. I was 2 when she died. Foster parents didn't talk about her much. Just said she was troubled." Elena winced. Troubled. Sarah had been fierce, passionate, a fighter for justice. But she'd also battled demons, depression, the scars of her own rough childhood. Elena wanted to tell Riley the truth, to paint a picture of the woman Sarah really was. But the words stuck. Instead, she asked, "What do you remember about her?" Riley's eyes softened. "Her laugh. It's fuzzy, but I can still hear it sometimes. And she used to sing to me. Badly." She laughed. A sound so like Sarah's it made Elena's heart ache. They talked more, Riley opening up about her life, bouncing between foster homes, coming out at 15, getting kicked out of her last one for it. Elena listened, her anger rising at a world that had failed this girl, Sarah's girl. She wanted to protect her, to make up for the years Riley had been alone. Over the next week, Elena found excuses to visit the shelter daily. She brought Riley art supplies, a new sketchbook, even a pair of gloves. Each time, Riley's guard dropped a little more. They'd talk about music, Chicago's gritty beauty, their shared love of old jazz records. Elena saw Sarah in her stubbornness, her quick wit. But Riley was her own person, sharp and resilient, forged by a life Elena could only imagine. One evening, as snow blanketed the city again, Elena invited Riley for coffee at a diner nearby. "Just to get out of here for a bit," she said. Riley agreed, slipping on the coat. At the diner, they sat in a booth by the window, steam rising from their mugs. "Why do you keep coming back?" Riley asked suddenly, her tone curious but edged with suspicion. "You don't owe me anything." Elena stirred her coffee, buying time. "You remind me of someone," she said finally. "Someone I cared about." Riley raised an eyebrow. "Who?" Elena's pulse raced. She wasn't ready to tell her, not yet. "Just someone from a long time ago." Riley didn't push, but her eyes lingered on Elena, searching. The conversation shifted to lighter things. Riley's dream of studying art, her love for street murals. But as they walked back to the shelter, Elena felt the weight of the truth pressing down. She had to know more to be sure. Back home, Elena dug deeper into Sarah's journal. Another entry, dated months after the first, mentioned a social worker promising to find a good home for her. No name, no details, just Sarah's raw pain. Elena's mind raced. Had Sarah wanted to reconnect with Riley later? Had she planned to tell Elena? The next day, Elena contacted an old friend, Marla, who worked in social services. She didn't mention Riley by name, just asked about tracking down adoption records from 17 years ago. Marla warned her it'd be tough. Closed adoptions were sealed tight, but promised to try. As days passed, Elena and Riley grew closer. They'd walk the city together, Riley pointing out murals, Elena sharing stories of her own youth. One afternoon, at a park dusted with snow, Riley stopped by a frozen fountain. "You ever feel like you're looking for something, but you don't know what?" she asked. Elena nodded, her throat tight. "All the time." Riley turned to her, eyes bright with something unspoken. "I'm glad you found me that night. I don't know why, but I feel like I was supposed to meet you." Elena's heart cracked open. She wanted to tell Riley everything. About Sarah, the coat, the love that still lived in her bones. But fear stopped her. What if Riley didn't believe her? What if it was too much, too soon? That night, Marla called. "I got something," she said. "It's not much, but there's a record of a baby girl born to a Sarah Harper. Given up in '08. No adoptive parents listed, just foster placements. Elena's hands shook. Can you send it? The file arrived an hour later. It was sparse, but it confirmed Riley's birth date, her mother's name, Sarah Harper. Elena sat on her couch, staring at the screen, tears streaming down her face. It was real. Riley was Sarah's daughter. But the file raised more questions. Why had Sarah given her up? And why had Riley ended up in foster care instead of a permanent home? Elena knew she couldn't keep this secret much longer. Riley deserved the truth. The next morning, Elena arrived at the shelter with a plan. She'd tell Riley, gently, and offer to help her find answers. But when she got there, Riley was gone. Her bunk was empty, her sketchbook left behind with a note tucked inside. Thanks for everything, Elena. I'll be okay. Panic seized her. Riley was out there, alone again, and Elena had no idea where to look. She grabbed the sketchbook, clutching it like a lifeline, and ran into the snow, determined to find her. Sarah's daughter wasn't slipping away, not again. Elena's boots pounded the snowy sidewalks of Chicago, her breath ragged as she scanned every alley, every corner. Riley's note burned in her pocket, its words too final, too much like goodbye. She couldn't lose her, not when she'd just found a piece of Sarah in her. The city was a maze of gray slush and neon lights, but Elena knew its pulse. She checked the spots Riley had mentioned, bus stops, the diner, the park with the frozen fountain. Nothing. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marla. No leads on Riley's current foster records. Systems a mess. Keep me posted. Elena cursed under her breath, shoving the phone back in her pocket. She ended up at the mural Riley loved, a vibrant explosion of color on a crumbling brick wall in Pilsen. It showed a phoenix rising, wings spread wide, painted by local artist Sarah used to admire. Elena stared at it, her chest tight. Riley had stood here just days ago, her eyes bright as she traced the lines with her finger. It's like starting over, she'd said. No matter how bad it gets. Elena's eyes stung with tears. She'd failed Sarah once, letting grief consume her after the accident. She wouldn't fail her daughter. Clutching Riley's sketchbook, she flipped through it, hoping for a clue. The pages were filled with cityscapes, faces, dreams. Then, a sketch of the shelter, with a figure in a wool coat. Underneath, in Riley's scrawl, Elena, safe. The word hit like a lifeline. Riley felt safe with her. Elena's resolve hardened. She'd find her no matter what. Her search led to a youth center in Uptown, a place Riley had mentioned in passing. The staff knew her, said she'd stopped by for art classes but hadn't been seen in days. A volunteer, a wiry guy named Jamal, recognized Elena's description of the coat. Saw a girl like that near the L station last night, he said. Looked like she was heading downtown. Elena thanked him and ran to the red line, her heart pounding. The train rattled through the city, each stop a blur of faces that weren't Riley's. At Lake Street, she spotted a figure in a familiar wool coat, leaning against a pillar, sketching in a new notebook. Riley, Elena called, pushing through the crowd. Riley looked up, startled, then softened. Elena? What are you doing here? You left, Elena said, breathless. Why? Riley's eyes dropped to her sketchbook. I don't do well staying in one place. Makes me feel trapped. Elena's chest ached. She wanted to blurt out the truth, to tell Riley about Sarah. But the words felt too heavy for a noisy train platform. Instead, she said, You're not trapped. I care about you. I want you to be safe. Riley's lips twitched, almost a smile. You're weirdly intense. You know that? Elena laughed, despite herself. Yeah, I've heard that before. They sat on a bench, the city humming around them. Riley opened her sketchbook, showing Elena a drawing of the Phoenix mural. I keep coming back to it, she said. Like it's trying to tell me something. Elena nodded, her throat tight. Maybe it is. They talked for hours, the cold forgotten. Riley admitted she'd been planning to leave Chicago, to hitch a ride somewhere warmer. But something kept her here. Maybe it's you, she said, half joking. But her eyes held something deeper. Elena took a risk. Riley, That photo of your mom, can I see it again? Riley hesitated, then pulled it from her backpack. Sarah's face stared back, young and fierce. Elena's fingers trembled as she touched the edges. She was special, wasn't she? Riley nodded, her voice soft. Yeah, I wish I'd known her. Elena's heart screamed to tell her, but she held back. She needed more proof, details, something to make it real for both of them. Instead, she said, "Come back to the shelter, just for tonight, please." Riley agreed reluctantly. Back at the shelter, Elena stayed late, helping Riley settle in. As Riley slept, Elena studied the sketchbook again, finding a folded letter tucked in the back. It was from a social worker, dated a year ago, addressed to Riley. It mentioned a sealed adoption file and a mother who'd wanted to reconnect but died before she could. Elena's hands shook as she read it. Sarah had tried to find Riley. The thought broke her heart and mended it at once. She slipped the letter back, vowing to dig deeper. The next day, Elena met Marla at a coffee shop. Marla slid a thin file across the table. "This is all I could get without breaking laws," she said. Sarah Harper gave up a daughter in '08. The kid went into foster care after the adoptive parents backed out. No names released, but the birth date matches your girl. Elena's stomach churned. "Why didn't Sarah tell me?" Marla sighed. "She was young, Elena. Scared. Maybe she didn't want to burden you." Elena spent the next week piecing it together. Sarah had been 20, pregnant, and alone, fresh out of a foster system that had chewed her up. She'd given Riley up, hoping for a better life for her. But the system failed Riley just as it had failed Sarah. Elena kept seeing Riley, bringing her small gifts. A sketch pencil, a warm scarf. Their bond grew tentative but real. One night, as they sat on the shelter's roof, watching the city lights, Riley said, "You're like family, you know? I never had that." Elena's eyes burned. "You're family to me, too." She wanted to say more, to tell Riley everything, but she needed to be sure. She contacted a lawyer, someone who specialized in adoption records, and paid for a rush request to unseal Riley's file. The wait was agony. Elena threw herself into her shifts at the shelter, keeping Riley close, teaching her to cook her mom's old recipes. Tamales, Sarah's favorite, though Sarah had always burned them. Riley laughed, flour on her cheeks, and Elena saw Sarah in every smile. Then the lawyer called. The file was unsealed. Riley's mother was confirmed as Sarah Harper, born in Chicago, died in a car accident in 2015. But there was more. A letter Sarah had written to Riley, meant to be delivered when she turned 18. It was held in a state archive, waiting. Elena's heart raced. She had to get that letter. Could hold the answers Riley needed, the closure Elena craved. But Riley was restless, talking about leaving again. Elena knew time was running out. She planned to take Riley to the mural the next day, to tell her the truth under the phoenix's wings. But that night, Riley vanished again, leaving only a sketch of Elena's face, with the words, "Thank you for seeing me." Elena stood in the empty shelter, the sketch in her hands, determination burning through her. She'd find Riley, and this time, she'd tell her everything. About Sarah, about love, about the family they could still be. Elena's heart thundered as she scoured Chicago's streets. Riley's sketch of her face tucked inside her jacket. The city felt like a living thing, hiding Riley in its folds, testing Elena's resolve. She wouldn't give up, not on Sarah's daughter, not on the chance to make things right. She started at the L station where she'd found Riley before, asking commuters if they'd seen a girl in a wool coat. Most shook their heads, but an older woman selling hot dogs nearby pointed downtown. Saw a kid like that heading toward Millennium Park. Looked like she was carrying the world on her shoulders. Elena thanked her and ran, the cold biting her lungs. Millennium Park was alive with holiday lights, families skating on the rink, but Elena's eyes scanned for Riley's slight frame. She found her by the cloud gate, the giant silver bean reflecting the city's glow. Riley sat on a bench, sketching the sculpture, the coat wrapped tight around her. "Riley," Elena called, her voice soft but urgent. Riley's head snapped up, her expression a mix of guilt and relief. "You're like a bloodhound," she said, trying to laugh, but her eyes were red, like she'd been crying. "Why do you keep running?" Elena asked, sitting beside her. Riley stared at her sketchbook. "I don't know. When things get good, I get scared. Like it's gonna fall apart." Elena's chest ached. She knew that fear. Sarah had carried it too, always waiting for the world to pull the rug out. "You don't have to do this alone," Elena said. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Riley looked at her, searching. "Why does it matter so much to you?" Elena took a deep breath. The moment was here, but the words felt like glass in her throat. "Riley, there's something I need to tell you. About your mom." Riley's eyes widened, her fingers tightening on her pencil. "What about her?" Elena hesitated, then pulled the Polaroid from her pocket. Riley had left it in the sketchbook. "This woman, Sarah Harper, she was my partner. We were together for years, until she died." Riley froze, her breath hitching. You knew my mom?" Elena nodded, tears spilling over. "I loved her, more than anything. And I think I know you're her daughter." The words hung in the air, heavy as the snow starting to fall. Riley's face crumpled, a mix of shock and something softer, like recognition. "How?" she whispered. Elena told her everything, the alley, the coat, the journal, the adoption file. She spoke of Sarah's laugh, her courage, her love for jazz and bad karaoke. Riley listened, silent, her eyes locked on the Polaroid. When Elena finished, Riley's voice was barely audible. "She loved me?" "She did," Elena said, her voice breaking. "She gave you up because she thought it was best for you. But she wanted to find you again. I found a letter she wrote to you. It's in an archive. I can take you to get it." Riley's hands shook as she touched the photo. I thought she didn't want me." Elena reached for her hand, squeezing it. "She wanted you more than anything. I'm so sorry you didn't know." They sat there, snow dusting their shoulders, the city's noise fading. Riley leaned into Elena, her head resting on her shoulder, and Elena felt a warmth she hadn't known in years. It was like holding Sarah again, but different, new, fragile, real. The next day, they went to the state archive together. The building was cold and sterile, but Elena's heart raced as they waited for the clerk to retrieve Sarah's letter. Riley clutched her sketchbook, nervous, her fingers tracing the rainbow patch on her backpack. The clerk handed them a sealed envelope, addressed to "My daughter." Riley's hands trembled as she opened it. Sarah's handwriting filled the page, her words raw and full of love. "My sweet girl, I don't know if you'll ever read this. I was so young when I had you, so lost. Giving you up broke me, but I wanted you to have a better life than I could give. I'm trying to find you now to tell you I love you, always will. I hope you're out there, painting the world with your light." "Mom!" Riley sobbed, clutching the letter to her chest. Elena wrapped her arms around her, tears streaming down her own face. They stood there, two strangers bound by a woman they both loved, finding each other in her absence. Over the next week, Elena and Riley grew inseparable. Elena helped Riley enroll in art classes at the youth center, even got her a part-time job at the shelter. They'd spend evenings cooking, laughing, sharing stories of Sarah. Riley's sketches filled Elena's apartment, bursts of color on her once gray walls. But Riley was still guarded, her years in foster care leaving scars. One night, as they sat on Elena's couch, Riley admitted, "I'm scared to trust this. What if you get tired of me?" Elena's heart broke. "I'm not going anywhere, Riley. You're family now." Riley's eyes softened, but doubt lingered. Elena knew it would take time to heal those wounds. She started looking into guardianship, wanting to give Riley a home, not just a shelter. The lawyer warned it'd be a long process. Riley was almost 18, and the system was a maze, but Elena was determined. One afternoon, they visited the Phoenix mural again. Riley had added her own touch to it, with permission from the artists, a small rainbow feather in the phoenix's wing. "For Mom," she said, her voice steady. Elena smiled, pride swelling in her chest. She'd love it. As they stood there, Riley slipped her hand into Elena's. "I'm glad it was you," she said. "The one who found me." Elena squeezed her hand, her heart full, but a shadow lingered. Riley's past was still a mystery. Why had the adoption fallen through? Who was her father? And why had Sarah kept her a secret? Elena sensed there was more to uncover, pieces of Sarah's life she'd never known. That night, Elena found another journal entry, tucked in the back, dated just before Sarah's accident. "I found her, my girl. I'm going to tell Elena everything. I just hope she'll understand." Elena's breath caught. Sarah had been so close to reuniting with Riley, to telling her the truth. The realization hit hard, but it also fueled Elena's resolve. She'd carry Sarah's love forward, for Riley, for both of them. But as they settled into this new life, a letter arrived from the lawyer. It wasn't about guardianship. It was about Riley's father. He was alive and he'd been looking for her. The letter from the lawyer sat unopened on Elena's kitchen table, its weight heavier than the paper itself. Riley's father. The words felt like a crack in the fragile world she and Riley were building. Elena hadn't told Riley yet. She couldn't, not until she knew what it meant. She reread Sarah's journal entry from the night before. "I'm going to tell Elena everything." Sarah had known about Riley's father, too, and planned to confess it all. But the accident stole that chance, leaving Elena to pick up the pieces. She traced the words, her fingers lingering on Sarah's handwriting, wishing she could ask her what to do. Riley was at the youth center, teaching a kids' art class, her laughter echoing through Elena's phone when she'd called earlier. Elena smiled at the memory, but the letter loomed. She opened it, her hands unsteady. The lawyer's note was brief. A man named Daniel Carter, 42, had contacted the state, claiming to be Riley's biological father. He'd provided DNA evidence, and it matched. He wanted to meet Riley. The letter included a phone number and an address in Evanston, just north of Chicago. Elena's mind spun. Sarah had never mentioned a Daniel. Had he been a fling before they met? A mistake? Or something more? Elena needed answers, but first she needed to protect Riley. She drove to the youth center, the letter tucked in her bag. Riley was outside, paint on her jeans, helping a kid finish a mural. Her smile faded when she saw Elena's face. "What's wrong?" Elena took a deep breath. "Can we talk? Somewhere private." They walked to a nearby park, sitting on a bench under bare trees. Elena handed Riley the letter, watching her face as she read. Riley's expression shifted, shock, then anger, then something softer, like hope. "My dad," Riley said, her voice small. I thought he was gone, like Mom." Elena nodded, her throat tight. "I didn't know about him either. But he's real, and he wants to meet you." Riley stared at the letter, her fingers tracing the words. "What if he's like the others? The foster parents who didn't want me?" Elena's heart ached. "You don't have to decide now, but I'll be with you, whatever you choose." Riley leaned into her, and Elena wrapped an arm around her. They sat in silence, the wind rustling the dry leaves. Elena felt the weight of Sarah's absence, but also her presence, in Riley's resilience, in the love they were forging. That night, Elena called Daniel Carter. His voice was low, cautious, but kind. He explained he'd been 19 when he and Sarah dated briefly, before she knew she was a lesbian. When Sarah got pregnant, they agreed to give the baby up, thinking it was best. He'd lost touch with her after, only learning of her death years later. Recently, he'd started searching for Riley, driven by a need to know she was okay. "I don't want to disrupt her life," Daniel said. "I just want to meet her, to tell her I'm sorry." Elena's grip on the phone tightened. "She's been through a lot. If you hurt her, you'll answer to me." Daniel agreed to meet at a neutral spot, a cafe in Evanston. Elena told Riley the next day, and after a long pause, Riley nodded. "Okay, but you're coming with me." The cafe was cozy, with warm wood tables and the smell of fresh coffee. Daniel was already there when they arrived, a tall man with kind eyes and a nervous smile. Riley froze in the doorway, her hand gripping Elena's. "It's okay," Elena whispered. "I'm right here." Daniel stood, his hands fidgeting. Riley? I'm Daniel. I'm your dad. Riley's eyes narrowed, but she sat across from him. Elena stayed close, her presence a silent anchor. Daniel told his story. His regret, his search, his hope to be part of Riley's life, even in a small way. Riley listened, her face unreadable. I didn't know about you until I was older, Riley said finally. Why now? Daniel's voice cracked. I was a kid myself back then, scared. I thought I was doing right by you. But I've spent years wondering about you, Riley. I just want a chance to know you. Riley looked at Elena, her eyes searching. Elena nodded. A silent promise. You're not alone. They talked for an hour, tentative but honest. Daniel showed Riley a photo of himself at 19 with Sarah, both laughing at a county fair. Riley's fingers lingered on her mom's face, a soft smile breaking through. After, as they walked back to the car, Riley was quiet. Elena waited, giving her space. Finally, Riley said, He seems okay. But you're my family, Elena. You found me first. Elena's heart swelled. Always, kid. Back at the shelter, Riley sketched Daniel's face from memory, her pencil moving with purpose. Elena watched, marveling at her strength. But the questions about Sarah lingered. Why had she kept Daniel a secret? And what else hadn't she told Elena? The lawyer called again a week later. He'd found another document. A second letter from Sarah, written to Elena, never sent. It was with the same archive as Riley's. Elena's stomach nodded. She and Riley drove to retrieve it, the air between them heavy with anticipation. The letter was short, Sarah's handwriting shaky. Elena, my love, I should have told you about Riley. I was scared you'd think less of me. I was going to find her, to bring her to us. I hope you'll forgive me. Love her for me, please. Elena sobbed, Riley's arms around her this time. She wanted us to be together, Riley whispered. Elena nodded, holding her tight. She did. They decided to meet Daniel again, this time at the Phoenix mural. He brought photos, stories, pieces of Sarah's life Riley had never known. The three of them stood under the rainbow feather, a fragile new family forming. Elena felt Sarah there, in the wind, in Riley's laugh, in the love that refused to die. But as they left, Elena noticed a man watching them from across the street, his face hard. He turned away when she looked, but something about him felt wrong. She pulled Riley closer, her instincts screaming. Sarah's secrets weren't done with them yet. Elena couldn't shake the image of the man across the street, his stare cold and deliberate. She didn't mention it to Riley, not wanting to alarm her, but her gut told her he wasn't a random passerby. Chicago's streets were full of ghosts, but this one felt too real. She kept Riley close over the next few days, their routine a comforting anchor. They cooked tamales in Elena's apartment, Riley teasing her about her control-freak spice measurements. They visited the youth center, where Riley's art classes were gaining a following, kids clamoring to learn her shading techniques. Elena watched her bloom, the guarded girl from the alley becoming someone who laughed freely, who trusted. But the man lingered in Elena's mind. She'd seen him again, outside the shelter, leaning against a lamppost, his face half hidden by a scarf. She told Marla, who frowned. Could be nothing, but I'll ask around. Keep an eye out. Elena did, her protectiveness over Riley sharpening. She started digging into Sarah's past, looking for clues. Sarah's journal mentioned a foster brother, Mike, who'd been trouble, petty theft, fights, a grudge against Sarah for abandoning him when she aged out. Could he be the man? Elena found an old photo of Mike, broad shoulders, sharp jaw. Could have been him, but the image was grainy, 10 years old. She didn't tell Riley yet, not wanting to stir up fear without proof. Instead, she focused on their bond. One night, Riley showed her a new sketch, a portrait of Sarah, based on the Polaroid, her eyes alive with love. I want to remember her like this, Riley said. Elena's throat tightened. That's exactly how she was. They decided to frame it, hanging it in Elena's living room beside a photo of her and Sarah. Riley traced the frame, her voice soft. It's like she's here with us. Elena nodded, her heart full but heavy. She was still waiting on the guardianship papers, the process slowed by bureaucracy. Daniel was supportive, meeting Riley weekly, building a cautious bond. He'd shared more about his and Sarah's brief time together. Two scared kids, not ready for a baby. Elena respected his honesty, but she couldn't shake the feeling that Sarah's secrets ran deeper. Then Marla called. Found something on Mike. He's been in and out of jail. Last known address is in Chicago. I got a recent photo. She sent it over. Elena's blood ran cold. It was the man from the street, older but unmistakable. Why would he be following us? Elena asked. Marla hesitated. Sarah mentioned him in some old case notes. He was obsessed with her, blamed her for his problems. If he knows about Riley, Elena's stomach dropped. She thanked Marla and hung up, her mind racing. Mike could be dangerous. She had to protect Riley, but she also needed to know what he wanted. The next day, Elena took Riley to the Phoenix mural again, their safe place. She didn't mention Mike, but her eyes scanned the crowd. No sign of him. Riley painted a new feather, this one gold, for hope. Elena watched, her heart swelling, but her nerves were on edge. That evening, Daniel joined them for dinner at Elena's. He brought a box of Sarah's old things. Letters, a mixtape, a bracelet Riley recognized from the Polaroid. Riley held the bracelet, tears in her eyes. She wore this when she held me. Daniel smiled softly. She loved you, Riley. I wish I'd been braver back then. Riley squeezed his hand. You're here now. Elena watched them, her heart torn between joy and fear. After Daniel left, she told Riley about Mike, keeping her tone calm. He was Sarah's foster brother. I think he's been watching us. I don't know why, but we need to be careful. Riley's face paled. What does he want? I'm not sure, but I won't let anything happen to you. Riley nodded, but her hands shook. Elena pulled her into a hug, whispering, You're safe with me. The next morning, Elena contacted a private investigator, a friend of Marla's named Carla. She gave Carla Mike's photo and what little she knew. Carla promised to track him down, warning Elena to stay vigilant. Days passed, tense but quiet. Elena and Riley stuck to their routine, art classes, shelter shifts, late-night talks. Riley opened up about her foster homes, the rejection she faced after coming out. Elena shared stories of Sarah's activism, her fights for queer kids like Riley. They were building a life, but Mike's shadow loomed. Then Carla called. Found him. Mike's living in a halfway house in Englewood. He's been asking around about a girl matching Riley's description. Says he's owed something, money maybe, from Sarah's estate. Elena's blood boiled. Sarah had no estate, just debts when she died. Mike's obsession was a delusion, but that made him more dangerous. Can you keep tabs on him? Elena asked. Already on it, Carla said. But watch your back. Elena didn't tell Riley everything, just enough to keep her cautious. They avoided the shelter for a few days, staying at Elena's apartment. Riley sketched, filling pages with images of Sarah, Elena, even Daniel. One night, she showed Elena a drawing of the three of them under the Phoenix mural, a family. That's us, Riley said, her voice steady. No matter what happens. Elena's eyes burned. No matter what. But the next morning, Elena woke to a text from Carla. Mike's on the move. He was seen near your place last night. Elena's heart raced. She checked the locks, her mind spinning. Mike wasn't just a ghost, he was closing in. She had to confront him to protect Riley. But how? She called Daniel, filling him in. He agreed to stay with Riley while Elena met Carla to track Mike down. As Elena left, Riley grabbed her hand. Be careful, okay? You're all I've got. Elena kissed her forehead. I'll be back. Promise. She stepped into the cold, determination burning through her fear. Mike was out there and Elena would face him, for Riley, for Sarah, for the family they were fighting to become. Elena's breath fogged in the chilly air as she met Carla outside a rundown diner in Englewood. The investigator was all business, her leather jacket and sharp eyes cutting through the morning haze. Mike's been staying at a halfway house 2 blocks from here, Carla said, sliding a photo across the table. It showed Mike, older, gaunt, his eyes hard as he stood outside a pawn shop. He's been asking about Riley, Carla continued. Says Sarah owed him money from some deal gone bad. Sounds like he's fixated on Riley as a way to get it. Elena's fists clenched. Sarah didn't owe anyone anything. She barely had enough to live. Carla nodded. He's delusional, but that's what makes him dangerous. I've got a buddy at the precinct keeping an eye out, but we need to catch him in the act to do anything. Elena's mind raced. She couldn't let Mike near Riley. What's the plan? We watch him, Carla said. He's been tailing you, so we tail him back. If he makes a move, we're ready. Elena agreed, though her stomach churned. She hated the idea of playing defense, but Riley's safety came first. She called Daniel, who was with Riley at the youth center, and told him to keep her there. Don't let her out of your sight, Elena said. Daniel's voice was steady. I've got her. Be safe, Elena. The day dragged. Elena's nerves frayed as she and Carla staked out the halfway house. Mike appeared at dusk, his scarf pulled high, heading toward the L station. They followed, keeping their distance. He boarded a train to Pilsen, Elena's neighborhood. Her heart sank. He was heading for her apartment. They trailed him to her street, where he lingered outside her building, staring up at the windows. Elena's blood boiled, but Carla grabbed her arm. Not yet. We need proof he's a threat. Mike paced, then pulled out a phone, typing furiously. Elena's phone buzzed moments later. A text from an unknown number. I know you have her. Tell Riley her mom's debt isn't paid. Elena showed Carla, her hands shaking with rage. That's enough, right? Carla nodded. Enough for a restraining order. Let's get him. They approached Mike, Carla flashing her PI badge. Mike, we need to talk. He spun, his face twisting. Who the hell are you? Someone who knows you're harassing a minor, Carla said coolly. Back off or you're looking at jail time. Mike's eyes darted to Elena. You're the one with Sarah's kid. She owes me. Sarah screwed me over, and I'm not letting it go. Elena stepped forward, her voice low. Sarah's gone. Riley's not your pawn. Stay away from her, or I'll make sure you regret it. Mike sneered but backed off, disappearing into the crowd. Carla called her police contact, filing a report with the text as evidence. He'll be watched, she said. But stay sharp. Elena returned to the youth center, her heart still racing. Riley was teaching a kid to blend colors, her face lit with focus. When she saw Elena, she ran over, hugging her tight. You okay? Elena nodded, holding her close. Yeah, just making sure you're safe. She didn't tell Riley about Mike's text. Not yet. Instead, she took her home, where they cooked dinner and laughed over Sarah's old mixtape, the one with her terrible taste in 90s pop. But Elena's mind was on Mike. He wasn't done, she could feel it. The next day, the lawyer called with good news. The guardianship papers were moving forward. Riley could stay with Elena permanently, if she wanted. Elena's heart soared, but she tempered it, knowing Riley needed to choose for herself. She told Riley over breakfast, keeping her tone light. There's a way you could stay with me officially, if you want. Riley's eyes widened, her fork pausing midair. Like you'd be my mom? Elena laughed, tears pricking her eyes. Kinda. More like your family, whatever you need me to be. Riley grinned, a rare, unguarded smile. I'd like that. They spent the day planning. Riley would finish high school, apply to art school. Elena felt Sarah's presence in every moment, her love woven into their new life. But Mike's threat lingered, a shadow on their happiness. Carla called that evening. Mike's gone quiet, but I found something. He and Sarah were in a foster home together. He was obsessed with her, thought she owed him for helping her get by. When she got pregnant, he got angry, thought she was cutting him out. Elena's stomach twisted. Is he dangerous? He's unstable, Carla said. I'm working with the cops to track him. Stay close to Riley. Elena did, keeping Riley at her side. They visited the Phoenix mural again, Riley adding a silver feather for strength. As they painted, Elena noticed a car parked across the street, the driver's face obscured. Her heart raced. It was Mike. She grabbed Riley's hand, pulling her toward the youth center. "We need to go. Now." Riley's eyes widened, but she followed. Inside, Elena called Carla, who arrived with a police officer. They checked the car. It was empty, but the license plate matched one registered to Mike. The officer promised to patrol the area, but Elena's fear didn't fade. She took Riley home, locking the doors, her mind racing. Mike wasn't just after money, he was after Riley, a twisted way to get back at Sarah. That night, Riley slept in Elena's guest room, the bracelet from Sarah on her wrist. Elena sat up, watching the street, her phone ready to call Carla. She thought of Sarah's letter, her plea to love Riley. Elena would protect her, no matter the cost. The next morning, a knock at the door startled them. Elena checked the peephole. It was Daniel, his face pale. "I got a text," he said, showing her his phone. It was from Mike. "Tell Riley I'm coming for what's mine." Elena's blood ran cold. She called Carla, who confirmed Mike had slipped surveillance. He was out there, closer than ever, and Elena knew this wasn't just about money anymore. It was about family, hers, Riley's, Sarah's, and she'd fight to keep it whole. Elena's apartment felt like a fortress under siege, every creak of the floorboards setting her nerves on edge. Mike's text to Daniel burned in her mind. "I'm coming for what's mine." She kept Riley close, the two of them barricaded in with locked doors and drawn curtains. Riley sensed the tension. Her usual spark dimmed as she clutched her sketchbook like a shield. "Elena, what's going on?" Riley asked, her voice small. Elena hesitated, then sat beside her on the couch. "Your mom's foster brother, Mike. He's been following us. He thinks Sarah owed him something, and he's fixated on you. But I'm not letting him near you. Okay?" Riley's eyes widened, fear flickering, but she nodded. "You think he's dangerous?" "I don't know yet," Elena said, her voice steady despite the storm inside. "But we're safe here, and I've got people watching him." She called Carla, who was working with the police to track Mike. "He's gone underground," Carla said. "No activity at the halfway house. But we've got his photo out to every precinct. He can't hide forever." Elena thanked her, but the waiting was torture. She and Riley tried to keep things normal, cooking, sketching, playing Sarah's old jazz records. Riley drew a new portrait, this one of Elena and Daniel, with Sarah's shadow in the background. "It's us," she said softly. "All of us." Elena's heart ached. She wanted this family, this fragile, beautiful thing they were building. But Mike's threat loomed, a storm cloud ready to break. Daniel came over the next day, bringing coffee and a forced smile. "Any news?" he asked, his eyes scanning the room like he expected Mike to appear. Elena shook her head. "Carla's on it. We just have to stay vigilant." Riley hugged Daniel, surprising him. "Thanks for being here," she said. He ruffled her hair, his voice thick. "Wouldn't be anywhere else, kid." They spent the day together, the three of them a makeshift family. Elena watched Riley and Daniel laugh over a board game, her heart swelling. But her eyes kept drifting to the window, watching for Mike's shadow. That night, Carla called with a lead. Mike was spotted at a bar in Uptown. Bartender says he was ranting about a girl who took everything. Cops are checking it out now. Elena's grip tightened on the phone. "What's he planning?" "Not sure," Carla said. "But he's unraveling. That's when people like him get sloppy or dangerous." Elena didn't sleep, her mind racing with worst-case scenarios. She checked on Riley, who was asleep with Sarah's bracelet on her wrist, the wool coat draped over the chair. Elena touched it, feeling Sarah's presence, her strength. "I won't let you down," she whispered. The next morning, the lawyer called with news. The guardianship papers were approved. Riley could legally stay with Elena. Tears stung Elena's eyes as she told Riley, who threw her arms around her. "You're stuck with me now," Riley said, laughing through tears. But the joy was short-lived. Carla texted an hour later. "Mike's at the Phoenix mural. Alone. Now's your chance." Elena's heart pounded. She called Daniel, who agreed to stay with Riley. "Don't go alone," he said. "I won't," Elena promised, already texting Carla. She grabbed her jacket and met Carla at the mural, the phoenix's colors vivid against the gray sky. Mike was there, pacing, a bottle in his hand. His face was haggard, eyes wild. "Mike," Elena called, her voice firm. Carla stood nearby, ready to intervene. He turned, sneering. "You, the one who thinks she can play mom." "I'm protecting Riley," Elena said. "Sarah didn't owe you anything. Let it go." Mike laughed, bitter. "She owed me everything. I took care of her when we were kids. Then she gets pregnant, cuts me out, leaves me with nothing." Elena's anger flared. "She was trying to survive just like you. Riley's not your payday." Mike stepped closer, his voice low. "You don't get it. She's all I've got left of Sarah." Carla moved in, her hand on her phone, ready to call the cops. But Elena held up a hand, her eyes locked on Mike's. "You want to honor Sarah? Leave her daughter alone. Let her live." Mike's face crumpled, the bottle slipping from his hand. He sank to the ground, sobbing. Carla signaled the police, who arrived minutes later, cuffing him for harassment and public intoxication. He didn't resist, his fight gone. Elena returned to Riley, her body trembling with relief. She told her what happened, leaving out Mike's breakdown. Riley listened, her face pale. "It's over. For now," Elena said. "We're safe." That night, they celebrated the guardianship with pizza and Sarah's favorite jazz. Riley sketched a new feather for the mural, blue, for peace. Elena watched, her heart full, but a small part of her wondered if Mike was truly gone, or if Sarah's past held more shadows. The next week was quiet, Riley settling into Elena's apartment, her sketches covering the walls. Daniel visited often, becoming a steady presence. Elena felt their family solidifying, but she kept Carla on speed dial, just in case. Then, one morning, a package arrived, no return address. Inside was a photo of Sarah, young, holding a baby Riley, with a note. "She loved you both. I'm sorry." It was Mike's handwriting. Elena showed Riley, who clutched the photo, tears falling. "He knew her," she said. "Maybe he wasn't all bad." Elena nodded, her throat tight. Mike was gone. Carla confirmed he'd left Chicago, but his note felt like closure, a final piece of Sarah's story. Elena and Riley framed the photo, placing it beside the others. Their family was whole, built on love and forgiveness, just as Sarah would have wanted. The Chicago winter softened, the snow giving way to slush and the promise of spring. Elena's apartment was alive with Riley's presence. Her sketches on the walls, her laughter filling the rooms, her art supplies scattered across the table. Elena marveled at how quickly their lives had intertwined, how Riley had become her anchor, her purpose. Riley was thriving, her art classes at the youth center packed with kids who adored her. She'd applied to a local art school, her portfolio bursting with cityscapes and portraits of Sarah, Elena, and Daniel. Elena watched her grow, her heart swelling with pride. But a quiet fear lingered. Sarah's past had unraveled so much, and Elena couldn't shake the feeling there was more to come. Mike's note and photo had brought a fragile peace, but Elena kept her guard up. Carla checked in weekly, confirming Mike had stayed away. Last seen in a halfway house in Milwaukee. The restraining order held, and the police had his file. Still, Elena locked the doors each night, her eyes scanning the street. Daniel became a constant in their lives, joining them for dinners, helping Riley with her college applications. He shared stories of Sarah's youth, her love for cheesy sci-fi movies, her habit of rescuing stray cats. Riley soaked it up, her connection to her mom growing through his words. One evening, as they sat on Elena's couch, Riley pulled out her sketchbook. "I drew something for you," she said, handing Elena a portrait. It was the two of them under the Phoenix mural, hands clasped, Sarah's shadow behind them. The rainbow feather glowed, a symbol of their love. Elena's eyes welled up. "It's perfect, Riley." Riley grinned, leaning into her. "You're stuck with me now, you know?" Elena laughed, pulling her close. Good. I wouldn't have it any other way. The guardianship was official. Riley's belongings moved into Elena's spare room. They painted it together, a soft blue to match the mural's newest feather. Riley hung Sarah's bracelet on the wall, a reminder of the mother who'd loved her. Elena felt Sarah in every moment, her love a thread weaving their family together. But one afternoon, as they walked to the youth center, Elena noticed a familiar car parked across the street. Not Mike's, but similar, dark, nondescript, the driver's face obscured. Her heart raced, but she kept her voice calm. Let's take a different route, she said, steering Riley down an alley. Riley frowned. What's wrong? Just being careful, Elena said, her eyes scanning behind them. The car didn't follow, but the unease stayed. She called Carla, who promised to look into it. Probably nothing, Carla said, but her tone was tight. That night, Elena found Riley staring at Sarah's photo, her expression heavy. Do you think Mom knew about Mike? That he'd come after me? Elena sat beside her. I think she was trying to protect you. She loved you so much, Riley. That's why she wrote those letters. Riley nodded, but her eyes were distant. I just wish I'd known her. Elena took her hand. You do know her, through her stories, her love. And you're so much like her. Strong, creative, stubborn as hell. Riley laughed, the tension breaking. They spent the evening sketching together, Riley teaching Elena to draw the phoenix. Elena's attempt was terrible, but Riley framed it anyway, hanging it beside her own. The next day, Carla called with news. That car? Registered to a guy named Tom, an old friend of Mike's from the foster home. He's clean, no record, but he was asking around about you and Riley. Might be nothing, but I'm digging. Elena's stomach nodded. Keep me posted. She didn't tell Riley, not wanting to scare her. Instead, she focused on their routine school, art, family dinners with Daniel. Riley was planning a mural project at the shelter, a tribute to Sarah and other queer kids who'd been cast out. Elena helped her pitch it to the staff, who loved the idea. The mural took shape over weeks, Riley pouring her heart into it. It showed a phoenix rising from a cityscape, with faces woven into the flames. Sarah, Riley, Elena, even Daniel. The rainbow feather was the centerpiece, a beacon of hope. The shelter planned an unveiling ceremony, inviting the community. Elena watched Riley paint, her confidence growing with each stroke. She was no longer the shivering girl from the alley. She was a force, Sarah's daughter in every way. But the car appeared again, parked near the shelter during a painting session. Elena snapped a photo of the license plate, sending it to Carla. Carla called back that night. Tom's a dead end. Says he was just curious about Riley, heard about her from Mike. But I don't buy it. I'm watching him. Elena's fear grew, but she kept it from Riley, who was buzzing with excitement for the mural's unveiling. The day of the ceremony, the shelter was packed. Kids, volunteers, local artists. Riley stood proudly by her mural, explaining its meaning to the crowd. Elena's heart swelled, but her eyes scanned for danger. Daniel stood beside her, his presence calming. She's amazing, he said. She is. Elena agreed, her voice thick. As Riley spoke, Elena noticed a man at the edge of the crowd. Tom, from Carla's description. He wasn't watching the mural, he was watching Riley. Elena's pulse spiked. She signaled Carla, who was nearby, and they approached him quietly. Tom, Carla said, her voice low. Why are you here? He flinched, his eyes darting. Just supporting the kid. Heard about the mural. Elena stepped forward, her voice cold. Stay away from Riley. We know you're connected to Mike. Tom raised his hands, backing off. I'm not here to cause trouble. He left quickly, but Elena's unease didn't fade. She told Riley later, keeping her tone light, but Riley's face hardened. I'm tired of running, Riley said. I want to face this. Elena nodded, proud but terrified. They were a family now, and they'd face it together, whatever came next. The mural unveiling marked a turning point. The phoenix's rainbow feather, a symbol of Riley's strength and Sarah's legacy. Elena stood by Riley's side, the shelter buzzing with pride, but Tom's presence lingered like a bruise. She knew the shadows of Sarah's past weren't gone, but she also knew she and Riley were stronger together. Carla's investigation into Tom turned up little. He claimed he was just a friend of Mike's, curious about Riley's mural. But Elena didn't trust it. She installed a security system in her apartment, taught Riley how to use it, and kept Carla's number on speed dial. Daniel, too, stayed vigilant, checking in daily, his bond with Riley deepening. Riley threw herself into her art, her confidence blooming. She started at art school, her mornings filled with classes, her evenings with Elena, sketching or cooking. The apartment was a home now, filled with laughter, jazz, and the smell of spices. Sarah's photos and Riley's sketches covered the walls, a testament to their family. One night, as they sat on the roof watching the city lights, Riley turned to Elena. "I was thinking maybe I could take your last name. Riley Martinez. Sounds good, right?" Elena's heart stopped, tears spilling over. "It sounds perfect." They filed the paperwork the next week, Riley officially becoming Riley Martinez. Daniel was there, signing as a witness, his smile wide. "Sarah would be so proud," he said, hugging them both. But the past wasn't done with them. Carla called a month later, her voice tense. "Tom's back in Chicago. He's been asking about Riley again, saying Mike left him something. Papers, maybe, from Sarah's old stuff." Elena's stomach dropped. "What papers?" "Not sure," Carla said. "Could be nothing, or it could be Mike's delusion again. I'm digging." Elena told Riley, who took it better than expected. "Let him come," she said, her jaw set. "I'm not scared anymore." Elena admired her fire but insisted they stay cautious. They met Carla at the Phoenix mural, where Riley added a final feather. Red, for courage. As they painted, Carla shared what she'd found. Mike had died in Milwaukee, a heart attack, leaving behind a box of letters. Tom had claimed it, saying it held proof of Sarah's debt. Elena's anger flared. "There's no debt. He's chasing ghosts." Carla nodded. "I've got the box. Cops seized it after Mike's death. Want to see it?" They went to Carla's office, where the box waited. A battered cardboard thing, filled with letters and photos. Most were from Sarah's foster days, scribbled notes to Mike about survival, dreams, regrets. One letter, though, was different, written to Riley, never sent. "My girl, I'm trying to find you. Mike's angry, says I owe him for our past. He's wrong, but I'm scared he'll find you first. I love you. Mom." Riley's hands shook as she read it. She was protecting me. Elena nodded, her throat tight. Always. The box held no proof of debt, just Mike's obsession, his twisted need for control. Tom had latched onto it, hoping for a payout that didn't exist. Carla turned the box over to the police, who issued a warning to Tom to stay away. He disappeared again, the threat fading like snow in spring. Elena and Riley settled into their life, the shadows receding. Riley's mural became a local landmark, drawing queer kids to the shelter, a beacon of hope. Elena volunteered more, mentoring kids alongside Riley, who taught them to paint their stories. Daniel joined them often, his quiet support a steady anchor. One spring day, they visited the mural, now surrounded by flowers planted by the community. Riley added a final touch, a small heart near the phoenix's base, with Sarah's initials. "For Mom," she said, her voice steady. Elena wrapped an arm around her. "She's here, Riley. In you, in us." Riley smiled, leaning into her. "I know." That night, they cooked Sarah's favorite tamales, laughing as Riley burned the first batch, just like her mom. Daniel brought a new photo, a candid of Sarah at a pride parade, waving a rainbow flag. They hung it beside Riley's portrait, their family complete. Elena looked at Riley, her daughter in every way that mattered, and felt a peace she hadn't known in years. Sarah's love had brought them together, through a coat, a chance meeting, a shared fight. The shadows of the past were gone, replaced by light, Riley's art, their laughter, the phoenix rising. As they sat together, jazz playing softly, Elena thought of Sarah's letter. Love her for me. She had, and she always would. Riley was her home, her family, her second chance at love. And no matter what came next, they'd face it together, under the phoenix's wings, where Sarah's spirit lived on.